How's it going, guys? What I wanted to do today is to demonstrate the cleaning of a Sig P226. This is a gun that I recently had in a video review, and it's in need of a bath, just to put it plainly. And I thought that I would show some of you guys the way that I would clean one of these. I know everybody has their own little nuances as far as how they do things, and I just thought I would show you mine and also give you a little bit more of a close-up look at this particular firearm. Great gun, absolutely love it. I've had a lot of fun with it down at my range, and it's just a little bit of a nostalgic piece, of course, with it being the gun used by the Navy SEALs, and it shoots great. It is very accurate. I just love the way that it performs. Check out the other video that I did. I will leave a link down in the description, as well as a card up in the corner. That way you can check out the range review that I did. And we are going to get involved in cleaning it. Now, with every firearm, no matter what kind it is, always remember to double check that the gun is unloaded. There are a lot of people that have been injured or even killed by guns that someone swore was unloaded. So never take the chance. Always check it. Now we're going to press the magazine release. You can see there's nothing in the magazine. I'm going to pull the action open. You can see there's nothing in there. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and lock that action open just like that. This is very similar to a lot of other firearms out there. It's very simple to take down, particularly a lot of the other SIGs. The first thing that you're going to do after you checked it is simply flip the takedown lever down, just like that. Alright, then I'm going to press the slide release, let that go home, then I'm going to pull the slide straight off of the gun. Here's the frame, here's the slide, the barrel, recoil spring. Depress the recoil spring, pull the spring and guide rod directly out, set that aside, take the barrel, and it lifts just straight out just like that. Very simple process. And the way that I generally will clean a firearm is to hit the most build-up areas first. And just let them soak for a little bit. I'm just using a little bit of rim oil here. Just going to give it just a little bit of a spray, both directions of the barrel, just like that. Get a little bit of overspray down here, but no big deal. It's what I use this table for. And I'm just going to set that aside. I'm also going to take the slide. I don't like spraying anything up around where the firing pin is. I like to try to keep it down low, and then just kind of wipe it up in there with either the brush or a Q-tip or that sort of thing. And these guns are a lot of fun. There's a lot of history behind them, and if you have one, of course, you're going to want to take care of it. Just a little bit of a spray in here and let that solvent work just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take my brush, and I'm actually going to put some links down in the description down below to some small cleaning kits for any of you guys who are in the market. Links to Amazon. That way, if any of you guys are looking for anything, you can find them down in the description. That way it'll help the channel out if you purchase anything. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help us out for what we do here, especially with all of the demonetization going on with YouTube. Believe it or not, these cleaning videos get demonetized. So now I'm going to take my brush. Now this is just a standard brush, and you can see that it looks like that it has a covering over top of it. It does not. It's just where occasionally, which I'll show you here in a bit, is I will put a patch over top of this and run it through the barrel. So I'm going to run this brush through here a few times just to kind of help break the buildup, make it just a little bit looser, make it a little easier to get out. And once I do that, just a few times is all it takes. I'm simply going to take a patch just like this and just drape it over that brush, and then I'm going to push it through that barrel. And you can see there we've got a lot of the buildup come out there, and it does not always pull off very easily from these brushes. Sometimes they'll pull off, sometimes it doesn't. That's why you get that buildup on it. Doesn't really affect anything, but just so you know how it does occasionally. Again, I'm going to put the patch back on there. I've turned it inside out. That way you can kind of get a couple of uses out of it. Run it through again, just like that. Okay. You may want to go and go through a couple of these patches. They're very inexpensive. You can pick them up very affordably. Again, there'll be a link down in the description. You can buy a pretty large pack for just a couple bucks, and you can use old t-shirts. There's a lot of things you can use that will work for this, but as cheap as they are, you know, I'll pick up a couple of these and use them, you know. And again, we're just going to run it through a time or two. You can see there, pretty well clean. I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over. I may go ahead and put just a little bit more of the rim oil on it, just like that. Put it back on this, run it through one more time, just like that. I say that we are good on that barrel. I always want to look down the barrel to make sure that there are no obstructions. Make sure you don't see any cracks or anything like that. Also look at the muzzle end to see if you see any cracks or chips or anything like that. And if you ever find anything like that, do not use that barrel for your gun. You need to replace it. Okay. Now that I've got that done, I'm just going to take a paper towel, just wipe the barrel off, maybe give it just another little spritz. If it's a gun that I'm not going to be shooting for a while, I'll sometimes leave them just a little bit wet. I won't have them completely dry when I go to put them together. Now the next thing is I'm going to grab the slide. A problem area for a lot of slides is going to be these rails. Alright, that's where one of these brushes can come in handy. Again, you'll find them down in the description. Where I had sprayed some of that rim oil down in there, I'm just going to go ahead and give it another little dose. Just like that. Take my brush, just run it up through there real good to break up any buildups that are in those rails. You know, that small end of this brush works perfect. Okay, just like that. Now, one area that you want to pay real close attention to is going to be the breech face, especially the ejector. Anytime you get anything that can get in there that gets underneath that ejector, it can cause you problems. So I like to take the brush and make sure that I scrub it real good. And again, don't use any kind of lubrication or anything to get around that firing pin. If you ever take one of these apart, if you have a lot of trouble with it, if you get a lot of light primer strikes and you take one apart, and this goes for many different firearms, you'll see the stuff just is caked in there a lot of times where people have used oil or other lubricants. There's been cases of people that use frog lube. Nothing against frog lube, but keep it out of that firing pin, because if you ever look at one that is just caked full of that stuff, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the same goes for any other kind of lubricant. So keep it dry. Don't use any real heavy lubricants around it. Again, make sure that you clean underneath that shell ejector real well, and that will save you a lot of trouble in the future. Again, we're going to take our frame, the same thing for this particular gun. I want to make sure that I get these rails real well. So I'm going to take my brush, just get in there and scrub to get any kind of buildup out of those rails. Right, just like that. Now, these guns a lot of time will come with sample oils, and you know, I don't know what kind of deal that they work out with the manufacturer. Some of those oils are fine. You know, there's the Lucas oil, I think, is what is occasionally sent out with the SIGs. I don't have any sample oils, but you can see there some of the buildup that's just coming off of this, just like that. I like to wipe it down and get it good and clean. Now, another thing that I will use is some Q-tips. You can get some swabs that do this, but I just find it just as easy and as economical just to get a big box of Q-tips, and they work just as well in my opinion. Now, it's purely my opinion. Again, I'm going to take my slide, I'm going to give it just a couple of squirts. Take the Q-tip, and I'm going to go down that rail again. That way anything that we broke loose, and look at that. See what I'm saying? All that buildup that was in there, you see me, I'd already hit it with the brush. Hitting it again a little bit with the solvent, and you can see the mess that just come out of there. So I'm going to turn that around, and it's a good idea to go through a few if it comes up that dirty, and try to get as much as you can of that buildup out of there. Now I know these guns generally run with few issues, but you know, I like to keep mine clean. That's just me. These things are expensive, and I like to take care of them. I want to be able to enjoy them for years to come, so I try to take care of them. Again, we're going to go through here a few different Q-tips, and again we're going to grab a few more just because of the buildup that is on this. It's obvious that this gun needs a good cleaning. Occasionally I will go through and white glove my guns. I'll try to keep them extremely clean, and then sometimes I will go through and give just a light cleaning to them. Particularly a concealed carry gun. If you carry a gun concealed, you need to occasionally take that gun and clean it. Okay? Even if you have not shot it, it's a good idea to clean it. Alright? Some of the other videos that I've done, you've seen me cleaning my concealed carry firearm, or one of them. And you know, it just helps you to make sure that gun is going to run good. You know, you do not want to be in a situation where you have to use your firearm to protect yourself and it doesn't work simply because it is dirty. It has buildup in it. And you can see here, I'm going to get all up in there. I'm going to go through a couple more just to make sure that I've got it cleaned real good. Kind of watch your Q-tips also. Those tips can come loose and can get stuck in your firearm, so that be cautious of that. You know, don't let that happen. Again, you can see there, just another quick swipe through, just like that. Right down through here, just like that. Okay, and then, you know, we're not going to get it perfect, but we're going to try to get as much of the buildup out of this firearm as we can, just because it hasn't been cleaned very well. Also, you know, I'm not going to be shooting it anytime soon. It could be a few days, I say that, but you know, who knows. Weather breaks just right, I may have it out at the range again. Just had it out yesterday, a lot of fun. And again, I'm going to clean that breech face and pay attention to those tips again. Don't let a piece of that cotton get stuck underneath that shell ejector. Inspect it real well. It's also a good time to inspect the rest of the firearm, inspect the slide to make sure that you don't have any cracks or nicks or anything like that. And just to make sure that your firearm is in top performing operation. Of course, a gun like this, a quality firearm, they are a lot of fun, and you know, if you take care of them, the longer they'll last you and the more fun you can have with them. Now that I've got the slide fairly clean, I'm going to do the same on the frame. Again, just hit those rails. And I've had comments by people on some of my cleaning videos to where they see me put so much of this stuff on one. This is a solvent and lubricator. You can see it here. It's similar to like the ballistol, stuff like that. This is rim oil. This is just what a friend of mine in his gun store is what he carries, so occasionally when I'm in there and I need some, I'll pick some up. Same principle here. I'm going to take the Q-tip, go down those rails. You can see they're not as dirty here. Just to get all of that buildup off. Just like that. We get a little bit more there. And this is also why I'll use the Q-tips, because you can see that I've used several already. Folks in my concealed carry classes, when I go through the cleaning portion, I've had several folks who will talk about their gun. They'll think that it's clean, and then I'll take a Q-tip and run down the rail of the slide in the frame, and oftentimes they'll see that it's not as clean as they thought. And anywhere there's metal to metal contact like that, you need to make sure that you get all of the contaminants out of it. Okay, that's where you're going to get your wear from. If you've got a lot of contaminants in there, it's going to cause it to wear faster. It can also cause you to have a failure. Alright, so, and you can see here we are fairly clean. I like to just brush over these, get down into that mag well, inspect everything real good. Take our paper towel, just kind of wipe it down, just like that. Again, just wipe the frame off, just like that. Keep it clean, make it nice and neat. I'm also going to take the spring and guide rod. You can see on these, the orange end is currently on the guide rod. That way you can make sure your orientation stays true. And basically with this, all I'm going to do is wipe it off. You know, there's nothing really to do with these, just wipe it off. Some people put a little lube on them, some don't. I may take a damp paper towel occasionally and just put just a little bit on them if it's a metal guide rod. But for the most part, you know, there, you're done with that. Very simple. Again, take the barrel, wipe it off, and we're ready to put it back together. Okay? So, I simply take my barrel, I set it down in there, just like that. Take my spring and guide rod, I insert it, just like that. Make sure that it's locked in correctly. You can use some of the rim oil or some other types of lubrications for oiling your gun. You know, there's a lot of things on the market out there. Again, just check the link down in the description. This is some that I picked up. I'm just going to give it a couple of drops. Doesn't take much. And you know, once you put this back together, that's going to distribute out very well. I'll occasionally take a little bit here, anywhere there's going to be metal to metal contact, just right down in the action. I just put a drop there. It does not take much. You don't want to run them dry, but at the same time you don't want to run them too wet. Take the slide and the frame, slide it back together just like this, push it all the way back, press up on the slide lock, and it will hold it in place while you return the takedown lever to its normal position. Cycle it back just like that. You can see the hammer's cocked. I'm going to press that trigger, hammer falls. I'm going to hold that trigger back and I'm going to cycle that action back. Alright, the hammer's back, the trigger's still held back. I'm going to slowly ease out on that trigger and listen for the click. Just like that. Now we know that the function of the firearm should be fine. I'm going to decock the firearm, and now we have a nice clean gun. Just wipe it down. Of course I did have a little excess lube on it, but that's fine. Like I say, a lot of times if I'm not going to shoot one for a while, I will put it up a little bit damp. You know, as the finish on these, there's no problem with them. You know, and there's really no need of doing that. It's just me. You know, it's just something that I like to do to just ensure a little added protection on my firearms. You know, as I've said many times, they're expensive, so take care of them. And that way they'll last you longer. You can have a lot more fun with them for a longer period of time. But guys, check out that other video. I had to switch cameras here. Mine died on me, so I just had to switch cameras real quick. But again, this is a lot of fun. Take care of them. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Also, check out the links down below. Again, I will put some links to Amazon where you can pick up some basic cleaning supplies. Let me hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about the SIGs. And just any questions, again, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.